Hello and a very warm welcome to the last Sibos Today right here in Toronto. I'm Chia.
And I'm Nadine Dereza. It may be the last programme of Sibos 2017, but we've got an action-packed programme, loads to talk about.
True indeed. We'll be hearing from delegates about their conference highlights.
And also previewing the destination for Sibos 2018, which is Sydney, Australia.
But first, we're delighted to be joined by Sven Bosu, the current head of Sibos, and the incoming head of Sibos, Chantal Van Es. Welcome.
Hello. Great to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Now, Sven, as head of Sibos for the last 5 years, I can't believe where that time's gone. But let's look back over the last week, first of all. So what have been the business highlights for you?
Well, I think from a Swift perspective, we had a number of announcements made around GPO and at the translator. That was really good. But I think overall what's happening on the shop floor is we're not talking anymore. We're doing business, we're signing contracts, getting things moving, and that was really exciting. And that's the overall feedback I got from the exhibitors this week.
It's a real collaboration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we got that vibe too as we spoke to many of the key management figures from the different banks, Personal highlights though for the week?
Well, difficult to say. I think to be honest, the closing plenary might be a highlight as well, if such is speaking. But the future of money was amazing. And also handing out a check of 40,000 euros to the young artists from Sketch. They were thrilled, we were thrilled. It was a really good collaboration. I do hope that money will be used to offer those kids all the opportunities they need to develop the talent.
Because I know that's been really special for you.
Yeah,
and something
absolutely.
you're
It's my baby.
It is your baby. When you look back over the last 5 years, and it's probably gone by like that for you, and I know it's
Yes,
a
there's a
hugely...
little bit of grey, but yeah.
No, not at all. It's a hugely busy project for you. But what do you think makes Sibos so unique?
I think it's the fact that you have 8,000 bankers together under one roof for 4 days. It's so easy to reach out to each other, to communicate, to talk, to connect, and that's what makes Sibos so unique. Everybody's here, and it's so easy to say, these are the challenges, these are the solutions, let's make it work together.
Yeah. It's unique, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, Chantal, it will be your turn next year in Sydney, Australia.
Don't be so worried.
I know. She's worried. She's heard about the grey hair. She's thinking,
There's lots of that.
Why do you think Sibos is such a big event and such a major event on everyone's calendar?
Well, I can only echo what Sven already said. I think in this today's increasingly digital world, taking just 4 days out of the annual calendar to meet face to face in one Sibos time zone, in one location, have access to everybody you want to meet with, discuss, listen to, learn from, reflect on, I think that's quite special and so valuable. Because people come away from Sibos thinking, oh yeah, I think I need to do this, we need to discuss that, we have to look into this. So it's really inspiring and it sets the agenda for the year to come.
It is
so
inspiring.
I think that's really great about Sibos.
It is. And what are you most looking forward to about your new job?
Well, actually, I had a look for the first time in my Sibos life, I would say. Sven afforded me a look into Sibos behind the scenes, and that's quite revealing. Yeah, and
And you still want to do the job.
and I still want to do the job, but it's so great to see all these different aspects, all these different teams working together to shape this event and then deliver on day one of Sibos. It was just fantastic to see everything that's going on behind the scenes.
Well, we have to ask you also if there are any nerves, any parts where you're thinking,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm particularly scared about Sven's shoes.
oh,
Do you have to wear them, do you?
Because as you can see, they're quite large
Yes.
shoes.
Yeah.
Figuratively, but also literally, and stepping into those shoes of Sven, who did such a fantastic job over the 5 last years, I think that's really daunting.
Yeah, well,
But,
you've got lovely shoes as
Yeah.
well, so nothing to worry about
Yeah.
there. Now, looking forward to Sydney next year. Why did you choose it, Chantal, as a location?
Yeah, so actually it was not my personal choice, even though I love Sydney, so I don't have any objection going to Sydney, but it's a community decision. It's, we rotate locations, so every year, and Sydney came out as a winner. We've been twice to Sydney already, so we're returning for the 3rd time. And Sydney has changed so much, has changed dramatically, I think, has really grown into its role of innovative financial services hub, where, the whole Sibos community is going to meet. So I think it's just a great location to go to.
And a new venue.
And a brand new venue as well, a beautiful, fabulous venue right in the heart of the city. So I think that can only bring the community together as well.
Yeah, beautiful backdrop, it sounds
Yes.
like. Yeah.
Many discussions here about different themes and issues here. What are some of those you think that will carry over and be continued next year in Australia?
Yeah, I think we already start to engage with the Australian community, but also with all the exhibitors on the floor here and listening to all the topics that are being discussed in the conference this year. I think certain topics will also feature on next year's agenda. Cybersecurity, transformation through technology and innovation, building bridges between today and tomorrow. I think that will stay. And what we're even going to focus more on is indeed bringing new stakeholders into the Sibos community and making sure that we can facilitate collaborative innovation between fintech, banks, and making sure it's all about us together, and not just, the different silos talking or discussing against each other.
Now, Sven, you haven't finished your job yet, so what's your assessment of any new emerging topics that you think might make it through as new topics next year?
Don't necessarily think it's going to be a lot of new topics. What we're seeing is more development of, okay, this was a great, look at distributed ledger. 2-3 years ago it was a concept. Now it's turning into business and into solutions. And I think we're going to see the same with data, we're going to see the same with artificial intelligence. It's transforming concepts and ideas into business mechanisms and processes which are helpful for the customer and also helpful for the community.
Make the theory come into more practice.
From PowerPoint to practice.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I like that. PowerPoint to practice. Well, Sven, you may be leaving Sibos, but we know there is a lot more coming up on your plate, and everyone's curious, where will you be going? What will you be doing?
Something completely different. At Swift, we have a division which is called Partner Management. And to Chantal's point, it's collaborating with the wider community and trying to find solutions which are there for helping and servicing and supporting the community, and that's what I'm going to do for the next years. Trying to find those collaborations.
Oh, I'm sure you will. And what's your biggest piece of advice for Chantal? She's right next to you, you can tell her.
Trust the partners you work with.
Yeah, trust the partners you work with, Chantal.
Okay.
Beautifully said.
That's very nice, yeah. I will definitely heed that advice, yeah.
Well, Sibos Toronto is not over yet. The closing plenary with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella is still to come. What are you expecting to hear from him? Sven, you first.
I think he will talk about artificial intelligence and where that's going to bring us in the next 12 to 24 months. And I think it's going a lot faster than we think. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from him how that's going to work.
Yeah, and I think it's great that we have somebody from a company we all grew up with, and evolved with, talking about the PowerPoint, to practice. To have that person on stage and coming to share his new insights, I think that's just a great way to end Sibos.
Absolutely. Now, would you like to pass something to Sven, Chantal?
Yes. Sven already mentioned the charity that he's very proud of, and I bet, Sven, you didn't have the chance to play the game on the Swift stand this week. So we would, on behalf of the whole Swift team, we would like to present you with a small memento.
Yeah, indeed.
That's very kind.
So
thank you.
Enjoy.
Yeah, well done.
Best of luck.
Yeah, and for €30, if you Swift will donate if you play.
Yeah.
I will definitely do so before leaving.
It's a good cause. Sven, the very best of luck, and Chantal, good luck to you as well. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, it's been another very busy Sibos with some really interesting speakers. We've had some great ones on the show. But what have people's main highlights been, and what key messages will they be taking away when they go home?
Well, we sent our cameras around the conference to get people's thoughts and reactions. Take a look.
What we've been doing Sibos for the last 10 years is like the best show we have, the best.
It's really the place where you find all the community, all the financial community in one go. I think the hot topics of this week have been clearly all the fintech move, i.e. how is the financial industry creating common products thanks to the new technologies and the agile companies in the fintech environment.
Definitely topics around payments, cybersecurity, open banking, the introduction of real-time payments globally were probably, for me, the most important highlights. And of course, everything around Swift's GPI initiative.
What we've observed, more than learning, is the fact that the number of payment banks and the payment solutions which have come up, the sort of fintech solutions which have come up, which is going to change the banking landscape in the next 5 to 10 years for sure.
For me, it was about the new technology. I found especially the sessions on blockchain and DLTs and related technology extremely fascinating.
The blockchain stuff, it's all over the place in terms of lots of sessions. So I was able to kind of go from a very high level overview of what it is down to how do we use it in an everyday environment.
One of my highlights has been the AI talk from Dr. Gao from HPE. He's made that very simple and easy to understand. And also the potential that AI has within the financial industry.
I think there are a lot of new things which I have seen with Microsoft. There is the completely mixed reality. It's not augmented reality, but a mixed reality. So that is one thing which I found very interesting.
I think maybe the startup part, the real innovators, enablers, that's the most exciting part of Sibos.
The idea that partnerships are now not something that banks are fearful of, and I mean that between vendor and bank to bank. So the amount of collaboration, the amount of open talk has been pretty eye-opening.
The biggest highlight was attending the sessions of Admiral Howard earlier in the week. She is just such an engaging, impressive lady, and she sets the bar for the rest of the speakers.
This year it was really a great Sibos with a lot of people, more than 8,000 people, a lot of ideas and a lot of energy that really will give us some good, I would say, charge and energy going forward for the coming month and years.
So I love the city as well. The city and the networking events in the evening and meeting all the people you work a lot with by phone and email, just real connection here in Sibos.
It's really a great opportunity for us to meet together. It's like a big party.
You see people sometimes once a year at Sibos, and you see them, you engage, catch up, and say, see you next year. See you in Sydney.
Wonderful to hear those comments from around the exhibition floor and around the conference. A real true international flavour there. Now, as the Sibos machine continues its globe-trotting journey, it's destination Sydney for Sibos 2018.
So with the Southern Hemisphere very much in mind, we thought we'd invite two bankers from Australia onto the programme to share their thoughts about this week in Toronto and also their expectations for Sydney.
And they are Dr. Leila Fourie, who's CEO of the Australian Payments Network, and joined by Gordon Sparrow, the Executive Director and Head of Financial Institutions at Westpac. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Well, we're going to start by asking you about your business and personal highlights from this week here in Toronto. Gordon, you go first.
I'll start off with the personal highlights. I think one of the big things about coming here is meeting people. We really get an opportunity to reacquaint, but even more importantly, with a team that's geographically dispersed, we get together and really have a good time. And from a personal point of view, that's fantastic. This business is all about people.
Right.
And that's what Sibos is about, really. It's getting people together. So that's fantastic. In terms of the conference, though, I've been thinking about the years of it. And what I really found interesting this time was that the focus, whilst it was on things like GPI and all those good things, and I could run off a list of those, really it's about customer experiences. And I felt that came through strongly this year, was the idea that it is, everything we do is about creating an experience for our clients. And if I think about Singapore 2 years ago, we were worried about disruptors coming in and eating our lunch. In Geneva, I think we were starting to invite each other to lunch.
Yeah.
And I felt this year we're in the kitchen making lunch for our customers. So next year in Sydney, we'll sit down and have the lunch.
Yeah, I love the analogy there as well.
It'd be a barbecue, right?
Leila, how about your personal highlights?
Well, I was quite overwhelmed with the number of topics and incredibly insightful views. But particularly what caught my eye was some of the female presentations in cyber. Firstly, because one doesn't expect to see so many prominent females talking about a subject like cyber. Admiral Howard's presentation was particularly insightful. It was interesting to see repackaged knowledge coming from an area outside of financial services in the armed forces, in the Navy, and being applied to cyber. So that was a really interesting topic, and I know caught the attention from a number of people.
Yeah, and that bodes well then for the future, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's in good hands.
Yeah.
Technology and innovation were other issues that were key on the agenda here in Toronto. Do you think they're going to be big issues in Sydney as well, Gordon?
I think technology and innovation are always going to be big issues. So for me, it'll just be a continuing theme. I think what would be interesting in Sydney would be to be having conversations about how we work together to use those, again, coming back to that customer experience thing. I don't think we can move away from it. It's going to be variations on a theme, but it is, for me, at the end of the day, just what does it mean to our clients? That's what matters. And I think how quickly we can deliver. So we're talking about a lot of stuff, but how quickly can we get our act together as a community and deliver on that stuff and make it a reality?
And Layla, what are the evolving topics you'd like to see be carried forward into 2018?
I think just building on the technology and innovation, it's highly relevant in Australia, and the evolving topics, I believe, will be very much around developing on the faster payments that we would have implemented just prior to Sibos coming to Sydney. We have a thriving fintech community, and I believe the mix between the traditional classical banks and the fintechs is an important topic. I think topics around open banking are very relevant. Australia's policymakers are very focused on open banking and APIs, and that's certainly been a big draw card. I've watched many very full auditoria in this Sibos this year. And then I think a new emerging topic might be around digital identity, authentication and security relating to identity.
Yeah, that'd be good to see, wouldn't they?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, we're all a bit concerned. And biometrics being quite commonplace nowadays, increasingly in more and more things. So again, I'm sure cybersecurity will be another issue we'll be talking about as well. Gordon, why is Sydney such a great place for Sibos?
It's a great place. Shall I start off with that one? It's just a great place. But I do think that, to Layla's point, we are a community that has a real eye on advancing in the technology space, in the innovation space. We have great innovation hubs, and I know everybody does. But I do think we're very collegiate in the way we go about things, and we bring a lot of communities in, we bring a lot of engagement and dialogue to what we try and achieve, and that really is what Sibos is about. So to bring a broader community into our Australian marketplace and have that community of dialogue broadened out and more people speaking, I think that's just an opportunity, but really to showcase what we're doing. We're a long way away. So people don't see what we're up to every day.
Now, Layla, can you believe that Sibos is turning 40 next year? So why do you think it's still relevant? Why do you think it's outlasted many other events?
Well, I see Sibos very much as a global meeting place, and it's more relevant today than ever. But particularly what appeals to me about Sibos is that it tends to very effectively mix today's problems with tomorrow's problems, and there's a practical focus on what we're grappling with today, with a balanced focus on innovation, AI, biometrics, and all of the topics for tomorrow. And so it really equips us well as professionals in payments and the banking industry to tackle our industries when we get back home.
Mm-hmm. So plenty to look forward to. Perhaps some tips for delegates who are considering, not quite sure whether to make a visit to Australia, Sydney next year.
Why wouldn't you?
I would love to, for sure. You know, I'm closer from Singapore, so it makes it a bit easier. But
my tip would bring your family and try and make a holiday out of it. It's a long distance. Sydney is an absolutely beautiful city. There's lots to do in the city. Climb the bridge, jump on a ferry to Manly. The weather is beautiful in October, and the broader country is a wonderful place to explore. So I would certainly try and make a destination out of it, and just enjoy the beautiful climate, the warm, welcoming people, and the energy on the bay.
Yeah, we're sold. Gordon, why should we?
I'd echo all of that. What I would say is folks should plan, because there's a lot to do, and you can get overwhelmed with that. And it depends, there's so much variety. It depends on what you like doing, so plan to do things. I would just have one tip, and that is the location of the exhibition centre is ideal for people that just enjoy a good walk. If you're moving from your hotel to the exhibition centre, find a way to jump on a ferry. It'll drop you right off near the exhibition centre. You'll get a completely different view. If you're going to take the ferry out, go for a walk somewhere. I spend a lot of my time walking around Sydney, running through the botanical gardens. It's just that kind of a place.
And I think actually talking to Sven, when I bumped into him yesterday, he said already people are starting to book next year with their families in mind, doing 2 to 3 week trips, because it is a long way if you don't come from Sydney, unless you're from Singapore, but it's definitely worth the trip. So are you inviting us all to your house? Is that what you're saying?
You're all welcome. You're all more than welcome, and we look forward to hosting you.
Yeah, indeed. And anywhere outside of Sydney that we should go very quickly if we
I have a
plan?
home in the Blue Mountains.
Yeah. Oh, wow, the
and,
Blue Mountains.
And it's a 2-hour bus ride. It's absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's a life-changing experience. I would encourage anybody to jump on a bus tour quickly up to the Blue Mountains.
And that will probably be about the right time of the year when it's, the weather's...
25 degrees, roughly, around October. Yeah, that sounds good.
Can be a bit warmer.
Yeah, okay.
Depends on the season.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Well, that's Destination Sydney for you, and you can see we're all looking forward to it already.
But what makes it so attractive as a destination for Sibos? Well, let's find out.
For visitors to a business event in Sydney, what's the wider experience like?
It's no hardship for me to extol the virtues of the city in which I grew up.
Difficult to not enjoy Sydney.
It's an easy sell.
It's well recognised, it's just a great place to come. And we're lucky, because it's so good, it means people will fly from across the world.
You know about the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge.
The dining experience, the shopping experience.
The absolutely spot-on weather.
We can even promise some kangaroos, quite close indeed to the convention centre.
The opportunities for enjoyment and leisure are endless. We have good restaurants. The nightlife's very appealing.
But if you just give yourself those extra few days, it doesn't take much to really get a sense of the open spaces, the broader Australian experience.
Sydney is Australia's global city.
The natural gateway to Asia.
It's a resort city, but it's also really an important business city as well.
Most importantly, which I think is critical for a city, it's its people.
The welcoming nature of Australians and Sydney-siders.
And we genuinely are a friendly nation.
But that comes with a very, very strong sense of professionalism.
You've got that great mix of people and sunshine.
And we ruthlessly take advantage of it. We love having people come to Sydney.
A really great place to live in as well.
If there are great jobs and you've got a great beach, that's a good offer.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Plenty to look forward to. And as we look ahead to next year's conference, let's find out more about the city that we'll be visiting from someone who should certainly know all there is to know.
And that's Anne Camonsind, who's Head of Client Services at Business Event Sydney. And back with us is Chantal Van Es, who of course will be leading the Sibos event next year. Welcome to you both and welcome back to Chantal. If I can start with you, Anne, first of all. So why Sydney?
Well, I guess it's such a dynamic place. It is a global city, and we are the professional services hub. Sydney is the professional services hub, and 95% of international banks operating in Australia are headquartered in Sydney, and as well we have a thriving fintech industry in Sydney.
We're convinced.
All apt for Sibos. Chantal, have you had a chance to visit Sydney already?
I did, actually. I once went for Sibos 2006, and I was already completely convinced by Sydney as a destination. It was great. The only thing that was hard was to keep people inside, because those 25 degrees, they are very attractive to go outside, but we are thinking of ways to keep people busy inside and
locking the doors.
Locking the doors.
And Anne, from your point of view, for first-timers that have never been to Sydney, which I haven't actually, I've been all around the world, but it's something I've never done before, what can they expect from the Australian community there?
Well, I think Australians are renowned for being very warm and friendly, very relaxed, but at the same time very energetic. And I think that we're a population of about 5 million in Sydney, so it's a fairly large city, and over 200 languages are spoken in Sydney as well. So we're very multicultural, which really gives a lot of dynamism to the city.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Well, we know Chantal was saying she's been to Sydney, but that was back in 2006, correct? So it's been some 10 years on. How has Sydney changed, been transformed?
Oh, there's been a lot of redevelopment. The International Convention Centre in Sydney is a new development, a $1 billion redevelopment. Our old convention centre came down and this new one only opened at the end of last year. Fabulous location in Darling Harbour, only minutes walk to the centre of the city. We also have Barangaroo, which is our financial services hub. That was a $6 billion redevelopment of previously it was a warehouse area. And that's now turned into office towers, apartments, restaurants. There's a ferry wharf there, and it really is a dynamic area. And as I said, professional services hub, and only minutes walk from there into the Walsh Bay Arts Precinct. So all of that is brand new for Sydney.
Mm-hmm. Now you just mentioned restaurants. Now, bizarrely, even a year out, some restaurants can get booked up. So, any top tips of great recommendations?
Look, there's such a wide variety. I think in the city, the Opera House has a fantastic restaurant called Benelong, but there's Aria, which has views over the harbour, the Cafe Sydney, but also people like to go out to Bondi Beach. Icebergs at Bondi Beach is iconic, fabulous views of the ocean and the beach. But there are also lots of other great restaurants in the inner city with the very different cuisines from all of our multicultural inhabitants. And we also have this unique thing which is called BYO, which is bring your own, so that you can actually go to a bottle shop and buy the wine that you like and take it to the restaurant. That tends to be more for the cheap and cheerful places, not the high-class restaurants.
Yes, indeed.
But it's just something that's a little bit different.
Yeah. I hope you've written down those recommendations.
Hey, I mean, Australian wine's on my list. I'm well versed with it, having come from Singapore. Chantal, perhaps also for Sibos goers, some of the other things they can look out for and be excited about?
I think there's almost too much to choose from if I listen to Anne, but I think what we're definitely going to do is put together an exciting conference program. We're going to work with the whole community to put that together. A great exhibition in that exciting new venue, and we saw it in May and we were all like, wow, this is state of the art. This is ready for the 21st century. And then we're also seeing, finding some new tricks, new things at Sibos to keep it relevant, to make sure we are transcending these boundaries between business and technology, between today and tomorrow. So we'll make it a very exciting program.
And very briefly, our previous guest, Gordon, mentioned the Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
I want to throw in Hunter Valley as well.
Yeah.
So what is so amazing about these two iconic locations?
I guess the Blue Mountains, it's close to Sydney. It's only a couple of hours away. Fantastic scenery. It's a World Heritage listed park. There's great views over the valley. You can take a cable car across the valley. The actual blue colour comes from the eucalypt leaves, so it gives a kind of a mist.
There's educational, this program.
There's also an Aboriginal cultural centre there, so you can also experience a different aspect of Australia. And there's some quaint villages in the area for dropping by shopping, for eating, so it's a bit of everything. And the Hunter is also quite close to Sydney. Of course, it's our fabulous wine producing area, whether it's a boutique winery or a major winery. Great food, great local produce, fabulous places to stay as well for people who want to spend a few days in the region.
So it sounds like a really good mix. You get to be the bustle of the city, but you can always go out for a bit of quiet and the scenery as well. Well, ladies, thanks so much for coming in and sharing with us. I think now we've got people even more excited about Sydney.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much again to Anne and Chantal. And if you want to get a head start on your preparations for Sibos Sydney, just visit sibos.com.
Now, as always, Sibos finishes on a high. This year is no exception. Delivering the closing plenary address is Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft.
And Satya has been with Microsoft for 25 years and in recent years has helped transform its technologies and business, moving to cloud computing and augmented reality. Last year, he oversaw the purchase of the professional network LinkedIn for $26.2 billion. And today, Microsoft stock is at an all-time high.
One of the secrets to his success has been the way he has changed Microsoft's culture. He has inspired the company's 124,000 employees to embrace what he calls learn it all curiosity, which in turn has encouraged developers and customers to engage with the company in new and more modern ways.
And in the closing plenary, he's going to give us his perspectives on how technology is profoundly impacting every aspect of our society and economies.
Well, that's all for Sibos TV this year, but thank you so much for joining us throughout the week, for all your involvement, your suggestions, your hellos, as we've been running around the conference.
From both of us and for the entire team behind the cameras at Sibos TV, we hope you've had a great week and we look forward to seeing you again next year.
Coming up, our closing plenary for Sibos 2017 Toronto. But for now, from us,
Goodbye.
on Sibos TV, bye-bye.